of Atlantic Television Network. This is ATN International News for today. Let's take a look at the headlines. Tebboune declared election winner with 95% of vote. Military-led government rejects UN call for peace. Voters call for less drama in Harris-Trump debate. Kendrick Lamar to headline Super Bowl halftime. California's line fire forces thousands to evacuate. Spanish Prime Minister visits China to shore up trade ties. Allegations escalate against Indian market regulator. These and more stories to come your way in a moment. Please do stay with us. And now the news in details. We begin with Africa. Algerian authorities declared President Abdelmadjid Tebboune the overwhelming winner of Saturday's election on Sunday. But a rival candidate alleged irregularities in the count and fewer than half of registered voters cast ballots. Algerian presidential candidate Tebboune secured 95% of the vote in the preliminary elections, avoiding the second round off. Hassani Cherif and Youssef Al-Chiche, both moderate Islamists, faced nominal opposition. Hassani Cherif accused polling station officials of inflating results and alleged proxy group voting. Despite these allegations, the Electoral Commission emphasized transparency and fair competition among all candidates. Late on Sunday, three presidential candidates, including Tebboune and Cherif, issued a joint statement in which they objected to the provisional results announced by the Electoral Commission. Algeria's presidential election results have been criticized for ambiguity and conflicting numbers. President Tebboune's re-election means Algeria will continue with a governing program that resumed lavish social spending based on increased energy revenues. He has promised to raise unemployment benefits, pensions, and public housing programs. Tebboune, who was first elected during mass Hirak protests that forced his predecessor Abdulaziz Bouteflika from power. His election in 2019 reflected the anti-establishment mood in Algeria with a 40% turnout. Russia's invasions of Ukraine in 2022 increased European demand for Algerian gas and boosted energy prices, increasing Algerian state revenue. The government has pushed economic reforms to strengthen the private sector and create jobs. However, unemployment remains above 12% and inflation is high. Algeria's foreign policy record is patchy, with rival Morocco winning over Spain and France over Western Sahara. Algeria's push for BRICS group membership was thwarted, and efforts to bring stability in Africa's Sahel region failed. Despite these challenges, Algeria remains a major military power in the region. Prominent Egyptian archaeologist and former antiquities minister Zahi Wahas has launched a petition for the return to Egypt of the pharaonic bust of Queen Nefertiti from the News Museum in Berlin. ATN learned that Nefertiti's famous painted limestone bust was uncovered at Tel Al-Amana, around 300 kilometers south of Cairo, in 1912 by a German archaeological mission, which shipped it to Berlin the following year. Amana was the short-lived capital of Nefertiti's husband, the 18th dynasty pharaoh Akhenaten, who reigned until about 1335 BC. Akhenaten, called the heretic king, was notorious for promoting the worship of the god Aten to the exclusion of Egypt's other gods. His reign also introduced a radical change in Egyptian art. In his petition launched on Saturday, Hawass asked for the return of the bust, saying it was removed from Egypt illegally after its discovery. Hawass said he is not calling for the repatriation of artifacts taken out of Egypt legally. His campaign is focused on repatriating three main beautiful objects, including the bust of Nefertiti, the Rosetta Stone, and the Dendera Zodiac. However, officials at Berlin's News Museum were not immediately available for comment. Number of children who were burned to death in a school dormitory in central Kenya has risen to 21. The government spokesperson said on Saturday. Officials began removing the bodies of the children as they tried to account for dozens of boys who were still missing, while journalists waited outside the Hillside and Darasha Primary School compound as a team that included the government pathologist and morticians from the Nyeri Provincial Hospital set up tables outside the dormitory on Saturday. The Thursday night fire razed down a dormitory that was housing 156 boys aged between 10 and 14. More than 100 boys have been accounted for, and the government is urging parents and people living near the privately owned school to help account for all the boys. Government spokesperson Isaac Nwora called for patience from members of the public as government agencies combed through the scene to ascertain the numbers of those who died and what caused the fire, adding that some of the children were burnt beyond recognition and agencies will take longer to identify the victims. Kenya's President William Ruto declared 3 days of mourning on Friday while police are still investigating the cause of the fire. Anxious parents who had been waiting all day for news about their children were allowed to see on Friday evening what remained of the dormitory. Some parents broke down as they left the scene, according to report. The government has urged school administrators to enforce boarding guidelines that require dormitories to be spacious, with 3 doors and no grills on the windows for easy escape in case of fires. School fires are common in Kenyan boarding schools, often caused by arson, fueled by drug abuse and overcrowding, according to a recent Education Ministry report. Many students board because parents believe it gives them more time to study without long commutes. Some fires have been started by students during protests over the workload of living conditions. In 2017, 10 high school students died in a school fire in Nairobi started by a student. Kenya's deadliest school fire in recent history was in 2001 when 67 students died in a dormitory fire in Machakos County. Sudan's military-led government has rejected a call by a UN fact-finding mission for the deployment of an international force to protect civilians from the country's ongoing civil war. Sudan's warring parties had committed harrowing human rights violations against civilians, the United Nations reported. Thousands of people have been killed and nearly 8 million displaced since conflicts broke out in April 2023 between the army and the paramilitary rapid support forces. The two had jointly staged a coup but then fell out, plunging Sudan into a civil war. The fact-finding mission also called for an arms embargo to be imposed on both sides involved in the conflict. It reported its findings after obtaining first-hand testimony from 182 survivors, family members, and eyewitnesses. The United Arab Emirates is accused of supporting the rapid support forces with money and guns, which it denies, while Saudi Arabia is said to have close ties with the Sudanese government. Sudan's foreign ministry said the government rejected the recommendations of the fact-finding mission in their entirety, further describing the UN Human Rights Council as a political and illegal body, and said the mission's recommendations were a flagrant violation of their mandate. Meanwhile, the head of the World Health Organization has called on the world to wake up and help Sudan out of the nightmare it is living through. News agency reported. Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus was speaking during a visit to Port Sudan, the main hub for aid agencies and new headquarters of the government, after it was driven out of the capital, Khartoum, by the Rapid Support Forces. Ethiopia's Prime Minister has warned that anyone planning on invading his country should think 10 times before doing so, because he said any attack would be repelled. Abiy Ahmed's comments come amid rising tensions with Somalia and Egypt. Somalia has criticized Abiy's government's maritime pact with Somaliland as aggression and has forgiven closer military ties with Egypt. Somaliland, which separated from Somalia over 30 years ago, is considered part of Mogadishu's territory. Egypt is planning to send troops to Somalia following a military pact between Ethiopia and Egypt. Egypt has been involved in a dispute over Ethiopia's dam construction. Ethiopian President Abiy stated that Ethiopia has no intention of creating conflicts but emphasizes the country's defense capabilities. Somalia is angered by Ethiopia's decision to reach a deal with Somaliland for a port, which has angered the region. Somaliland has also said that it could lease a section of the coast to Ethiopia's navy in exchange for Mr. Abiy's government becoming the first to recognize it as an independent state. Tensions in the region escalated last month after 2 Egyptian C-130 military planes arrived in Somalia's capital to mark the strengthening of ties. Egypt plans to send 5,000 soldiers to join a new African Union force in Somalia at the end of the year, with another 5,000 deployed separately. The force has been in Somalia since 2007 to help fight Al-Shabaab, a jihadist group. Ethiopian troops are part of the force, but Somalia will withdraw next year. Egypt accuses Somalia of the force, but Somalia will withdraw next year. Egypt accuses Somalia of threatening its supply of water from the River Nile following the construction of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Paris sport venue will be named after Ugandan Olympic runner Rebecca Cheptegei, who died after her ex-boyfriend set her on fire in Kenya. According to the city's mayor, Cheptegei was 33 years old at the time. Police in Western Kenya have told newsmen that they are treating Cheptegei's death as murder. They previously said an investigation was underway. Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo said dedicating a sports venue after Cheptegei would help her memory, and her story remains among them. Olympic athlete Cheptegei, who competed with the Paris Marathon, was praised for her beauty, strength, and freedom. Paris will not forget her, and a sports venue will be dedicated to her memory to carry the message of equality. A fellow athlete, Joanne Chelimo, urged women to come together following the incident, emphasizing the importance of equality in the Olympic and Paralympic Games. Rebecca Chelimo, a Ugandan female athlete, has been praised for her hard work and dedication to her family. She was the breadwinner of a family and represented Uganda in under-20 races at the 2010 World Cross Country Championships. Chelimo believes some men feel intimidated by female athletes who are going beyond traditional norms, becoming financially stable and independent. She hopes that perpetrators will be held accountable for their wrongdoings. A report filed by a local administrator alleged the athlete and her ex-partner had been wrangling over a piece of land. Attacks on women have become a major concern in Kenya in 2022. At least 34% of women said they had experienced physical violence, according to a national survey. Mother and grandmother of the suspect in the Georgia shooting, Coles Gray, were in contact with the school before their attack. Gray, 14 years old, is accused of first-degree murder and has been charged with 4 counts of the deadly shooting at Appalachia High School. The revelations come after authorities also charged the suspect's father, Colin Gray, with second-degree murder, manslaughter, and child cruelty. Officials accuse him of allowing his son to possess an AR-15 style rifle. Both father and son appeared in court on Friday, but neither entered a plea. The Washington Post has obtained next messages from the mother of a boy who was shot and killed, revealing she contacted school officials to check on her son. The suspect's aunt, Annie Brown, provided the messages and called Lux to the Post, and the mother confirmed the exchanges to other media outlets. The cause of the mother's contact isn't clear, but she did so after her son sent her a message of "I'm sorry." Colt Gray's grandmother called the school about half an hour before the shooting began, and there was confusion when a school administrator searched for the boy due to another child with a similar name. Charlie Polamus, Colt Gray's grandfather, confirmed that his grandmother had spoken with school officials about the boy's issues with not attending school. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation and Barrow County School System has not commented on the reports. Colt Gray is accused of shooting and killing two 14-year-old and teachers, Marcin Shemahon and Christian Angulo, and Richard Asfinwall and Christina Irimi. Gray faced mental health struggles and was interviewed about anonymous online threats, but denied involvement. Vigils and a memorial have been held to honor the victims. U.S. presidential candidates Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will face off in the second debate on 10th of September. The events represent an opportunity for a do-over between two parties, with voters wanting more policy and less political sparring. Kamala Harris has been criticized for not doing many interviews and being underground, while Donald Trump is known for his style during debates and loudness. Newsmen spoke to 7 of them to gauge their expectations. Some of the critics, name withheld, said they are voting for Trump, but are curious about the vice president's performance off the cuff and her ability to interact with Trump. They believe it's a style preference and hope Trump can focus on policies. They are excited to see Kamala Harris, a competent debater, go toe-to-toe with Trump, having previously debated with Mike Pence. They hope Trump can maintain a calm demeanor and minimize attacks. Some expresses their dissatisfaction with the current presidential debates, stating that they are merely platforms for the loudest and most catchy lines. They hope Kamala Harris maintains her optimistic, upbeat message despite Trump's rapid speech. The speaker believes that the debaters are more about showcasing their candidates' ability to yell loudly and catch headlines than delivering substantive messages. They view the debate as a job interview rather than a choice for president. They also express concern about the worsening poverty situation and the potential economic improvement under Trump. The speaker is eager to hear Kamala Harris' response to the situation. Others are excited for a debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, hoping for an informative and entertaining discussion on the economy and reducing illegal immigration. They believe Trump's strengths lie in his clear policies, while Kamala Harris has hidden her views. Trump's biggest weakness is his demeanor. The author plans to vote for Trump again and hopes he wins the debate. They are happy that Kamala Harris will be present and that the debates will be muted to avoid interrupting each other. However, they are concerned about the candidates' personal attacks on each other, as seen in the last debate. They hope for a more nuanced and informative debate. While many others plan to watch the debates between Biden and Harris, as they find Biden's performance disappointing. They are particularly interested in Harris' response to climate change and environmental policy issues. However, they are not interested in Trump's policy positions, as they know they would vote for anyone over him regardless of their positions. Over 10,000 people are under mandatory evacuation orders due to an uncontrolled wildfire in Southern California, threatening thousands of homes, businesses, and buildings in San Bernardino County. The fire, which began on Thursday, spread overnight, causing Governor Gavin Nuzam to declare a state of emergency. The blaze was 0% contained as of the time of filing this report. It is currently the 5th largest active wildfire in California after quadrupling in size on Saturday. On Sunday morning, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department issued evacuation orders for residents of Running Springs and Arrowbear Lake. That area alone has a total population of more than 6,000 people, according to report. The communities of Green Valley Lake, Cedar Glen, Lake Arrowhead, Crestline, and Valley of Enchantment were told they may have to leave on short notice. Fire officials say that 35,405 structures are threatened by the blaze, including farms, commercial buildings, and other minor structures, adding that the cause of the fire is under investigation. The line fire in California is facing erratic behavior due to a combination of hot and dry conditions, thunderstorms, and smoke. 3 firefighters have been injured in the firefighting efforts. The fire has created pyrocumulonimbus clouds similar to thunderstorm clouds, which can produce hurricanes and lightning, potentially causing more fires. Over 1,100 lightning strikes have been reported in the area. From 1996 to 2021, summer wildfires in Northern and Central California increased 5 times, attributed to human-caused climate change. While wildfires are not directly linked to climate change, human factors like land and forest management contribute to the increased likelihood of heat and drought-related conditions. U.S. government is pursuing a trial against Alphabet, the parent company of Google, for illegally operating a monopoly in the lucrative ad tech industry. Alphabet earned over $200 billion last year through user-generated ads. Prosecutors argue that Alphabet has used its market dominance to stifle rivals, claiming its success is due to its services' effectiveness. Google is facing a second major antitrust case in the U.S. following a judge's ruling in August that its dominance of search was illegal. The lawsuit, filed by the Department of Justice and a coalition of states, claimed that Google dominates the digital ad marketplace and has used its market power to stifle innovation and competition. Google argues that competitive in the digital ad space is growing, citing increased ad growth and revenues for companies like Apple, Amazon, and TikTok. Both sides will present their cases to U.S. District Judge Leonie Brinkema, who is expected to deliver a verdict. The bench trial comes on the heels of a landmark decision last month in a different monopoly case brought by the Justice Department against Google. Judge ruled that Google acted illegally to squelch competition in its online search business. Google is defending its ad tech case against the U.S. Department of Justice for monopolizing online search due to its superior product. The company referred to its 2023 blog post stating that no one is forced to use our advertising technologies. They choose to use them because they are effective. Judge Mehta is beginning the process of deciding on remedies for Google's conduct, with Dan Eves expecting business model tweaks rather than a company breakup. The complex process governing advertising technology could make it difficult for the Department of Justice to prove its case. The U.S. is not the only country where regulators are unhappy with Google's ad tech business. On Friday, the UK Competition and Market Authority said it believed Google was abusing its dominance in the ad tech industry, according to the findings of its initial investigation. It said it found that Google used anti-competitive practices to dominate the markets for online advertising technology, and the potentially unlawful behavior could be harming thousands of UK publishers and advertisers. However, Google representatives said the decision was based on a flawed understanding of the tech sector. Manhunt continues in Kentucky after several people were shot on a highway near London. Authorities believe the attacker is in a remote area about 9 miles from the city. Joseph A. Couch, 32 years old from Woodbine, Kentucky, is considered armed and dangerous. Police found 9 vehicles shot into near Interstate 75 with shots fired in both directions. 5 people were shot and some sustained serious injuries, including one in the face. The Interstate 75 was also closed for several hours due to the danger of passing cars. The Lawrence County Sheriff's Office said it's coordinating a ground search and using a drone to assist, adding that search is slow going due to thick woods and a remote exit. Police found an assault-style firearm believed to be used by the gunman, according to report. ATN gathered that a small silver SUV was found with a gun case inside, but no weapon in London, Kentucky. The scene was chaotic, with people on the sides of the road, emergency flashes going, bullet holes, windows shot out, and 9 vehicles shot. Police have not yet determined a motive for the shooting. London, Kentucky's Mayor, Randall Weddle, asked residents to be cautious and keep your doors locked, but said they were in no immediate danger. The incident occurred near a highway and an overpass. The town of London, near the site of the highway shootings, has about 8,000 residents and is near the Daniel Boone National Forest. Mr. Weddle on Saturday night described the search area as having rugged terrain. Rapper Kendrick Lamar will headline the Super Bowl halftime show, marking his first appearance as the main act, marking his second Grammy and Pulitzer Prize-winning performance at one of the most prestigious music events. The Super Bowl will be held on 9 February 2025 in New Orleans, Louisiana. Rap music remains most impactful genre, according to rapper Lamar. He performed at the 2022 Super Bowl in New Orleans, where he performed alongside Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, and Mary J. Blige, earning an Emmy Award for Outstanding Variety Special. The Compton-born rapper, 37 years old, is known for being one of the most inventive lyricists in the hip-hop genre. In 2018, he became the first hip-hop artist to win the Pulitzer Prize for Music. National Football League head of music Seth Dudowoski praised Kendrick Lamar's ability to create memorable moments in hip-hop, while Lamar faced controversy over public feud with Canadian rapper Drake, which led to the release of diss tracks earlier this year. 2 of the tracks with contributions from Lamar became major hits, including Future and Metro Booming's Like That, and Lamar's own Not Like Us. Artists like Rihanna, Usher, Beyonce, the Rolling Stones, and Bruce Springsteen are among the other major artists to have performed at the sports event. The Super Bowl is the biggest sports event in the U.S., drawing tens of millions of viewers, as well as being broadcast around the world. You're watching the international news on Atlantic Television Network. We'll be back after this short break. Please do stay with us.
From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.
of the international news on Atlantic Television Network. We are open for adverts, placements, bookings, and commercials. And you can connect with us and watch us on ATN socials, Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1, X formerly Twitter, Atlantic TV Net. Watch us live on our website, atlanticnetwork.tv. And now to the rest of our stories. Former President Donald Trump has threatened to jail those involved in unscrupulous behavior in election, threatening to use the to exact retribution if he wins a second term. Trump's warning extends to lawyers, political operators, donors, illegal voters, and corrupt election officials. He claims that cheating is rare and that legal exposure will extend to levels never seen before in the country. There is in the 2020 election, and dozens of courts, Republican state officials, and his administration have said he lost fairly. Trump acknowledged in a podcast interview that he had indeed lost by a whisker. Trump has shifted his focus from focusing on AIDS addressing past allegations of sexual misconduct, despite denying them. He has also turned to his legal woes, focusing on his indictment and Russia's meddling in the 2016 election. Trump has eschewed traditional debates preparation, holding rallies and events, while Harris is cloistered at the historic Pittsburgh Hotel. There is no evidence that President Joe Biden or Harris have had any influence over decisions by the Justice Department or state prosecutors to indict the former president. Trump and Hillary Clinton have agreed to a single television debate where Trump outlined his plans to drain the swamp and cut the fat out of the government for the first time, meaningfully in 60 years. He also announced the creation of a new Government Efficiency Commission headed by Elon Musk to conduct a complete financial and performance audit of the federal government. Trump also promised to review the cases of political prisoners unjustly victimized by the Harris regime and sign their pardons on his first day back in office. Both candidates have been frequent visitors to Wisconsin, a state where 4 of the past 6 presidential elections have been decided by less than a percentage point. Harris, who received endorsements from former Vice President Dick Cheney and his daughter Liz Cheney, said that the main message at the debates would be that the country wants to be united and chart a new way forward. Trump delivered a speech at a rally in Wisconsin criticizing Kamala Harris and the Democrats' border policies. He criticized the Democrats approaching as suicidal and accused them of importing murderers, child predators, and serial rapists from all over the world. Trump dismissed warnings about Russian attempts to spread disinformation ahead of the November election, stating that the Justice Department had indicted a media company linked to 6 conservative influencers. Supporters, including Dale O'Sultzin, hoped a second Trump administration will take on a cancel culture and bring the country back to its foundational past. Democrats have relied on massive turnout in Wisconsin's 2 largest cities to counter Republican strength in rural areas. A highly contested proposal on judicial reform that critics say will hurt Mexico's business climate edge closer to approval when senators late on Sunday backed it at the commission stage. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador has proposed a reform that would elect over 7,000 judges and magistrates by popular vote, a move critics argue would weaken the executive branch's power. The proposal has been approved by the Chamber of Deputies and is set for a final Senate vote. In the Senate, the ruling party and its allies need just 1 opposition senator to secure the reform's passage. Opposition senators have vowed to vote against the measure during Sunday's debate. Supreme Court President Norma Pina called on legislators to listen to proposals by the judges before backing any change. Workers in the judicial system, civilian groups, and university students opposed to the reform have staged multi-day protests around the Senate and in several cities across Mexico, which has the second largest economy in Latin America. Other protesters took to the streets to support for the reform and for the president. Authorities have reported no incidents at the protests. Lopez Obrador has said the reform aims to clean out corruption in the judiciary. Mexico's lower house approved the reform last Wednesday after a marathon session. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez is set to meet Chinese President Xi Jinping on Monday amid escalating trade tensions between the EU and China. Beijing is preparing to react to Spanish autos and pork if Brussels imposes tariffs. Spain exported $1.5 billion worth of pork products to China in 2023, surpassing the combined exports of the Netherlands and Denmark. The Iberian state also sold under $50 million worth of targeted dairy products to China last year. Sanchez's goal is to maintain political momentum, strengthen economic and trade relations, and support Spanish culture, education and science in China, according to reports. Spanish Prime Minister Manuel Sanchez is scheduled to meet with Chinese President Xi and attend business forums in Beijing and Shanghai. He is seeking assurance that China will not raise tariffs on imported gasoline-powered vehicles, which could impact SIT, a Volkswagen-owned automaker. The broader bloc hopes Sanchez can reduce tensions by examining whether European brandy and copolymers, a type of manufacturing plastic, were sold below market rates. State-owned newspaper said on Monday that it was important that China and Spain can have constructive communication on trade issues, citing Zhou Jingji, an academy affiliated with Chinese Academy of Social Sciences. Zhou also hoped that Sanchez's visit would make clear the notion to the EU that trade frictions in a few areas cannot represent the big picture and should not be a hurdle to bilateral relations. China is urging EU member states to reject the European Commission's proposal to impose additional duties on Chinese-made electric vehicles, EVs, unless a majority of 15 EU members, representing 65% of the population, votes against it. Spain, France, Italy, Germany, Finland, and Sweden supported the tariffs in an advisory vote in July. A busy bridge in northern Vietnam has collapsed in the wake of Super Typhoon Yagi, plunging 10 cars and 2 scooters into the Red River. Deputy Prime Minister Hu Duc-Phuc said on Monday it's unclear if there are casualties resulting from the collapse of the Phuong Châu Bridge in Phu Tho Province. At least 3 people have been rescued and 13 are missing, Mr. Hu said. Vietnam's President Ho Chi Minh has ordered the military to build a pontoon bridge after a powerful storm. Yagi killed at least 59 people and caused landslides and flash floods. The storm has also injured over 240 people and left 1.5 million without power. The 375-meter bridge remains standing, and the country's Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development reported 44 deaths and a new baby. Yagi also sunk and swept adrift dozens of fishing boats on Sunday. Searching and rescue personnel found 27 people drifting at sea after a dozen fishermen were reported missing. ATN gathered that nearly 50,000 people have been evacuated from coastal towns in Vietnam, with authorities issuing a warning to remain indoors. Schools were temporarily closed in 12 northern provinces, including Hanoi, before hitting Vietnam. Yagi left 24 people dead across southern China and the Philippines. Scientists say typhoons and hurricanes are becoming stronger, more frequent, and staying over land for longer due to climate change. Warmer ocean waters mean storms pick up more energy, which leads to higher wind speeds. A warmer atmosphere also holds more moisture, which can lead to more intense rainfall. Pope Francis has been welcomed in Vanimo on the coast of Papua New Guinea, where he donned a traditional bed of paradise faded headdress. He came to Vanimo at the invitation of local missionaries with the Catholic Institute of the Incarnate Word. They, like Pope Francis, the first pontiff from the Americas, are from Argentina. Earlier, he celebrated Mass in the capital, Port Moresby, which was attended by at least 35,000 people. Pope Francis is visiting Papua New Guinea until Monday as part of a tour that first included a stop in Indonesia. He travels next to East Timor, then Singapore, before returning to Rome. Filipino pastor Apollo Quiboloy, known as the appointed Son of God, has been arrested in a 2-week standoff with police officers. The pastor, who claims to have 7 million followers, denies all charges against him. In 2021, the U.S. Department of Justice charged Filipino businessman Quiboloy with sex trafficking, fraud, coercion, and bulk cash smuggling. He forced girls and women to solicit money for a charity and required his female assistants to have sex. After Duterte stepped down, he was charged with child abuse, sexual abuse, and human trafficking. Police have been battling followers of Pastor Quiboloy in a standoff at his 30-hectare compound in Davao for 2 weeks. Quiboloy was found inside the compound's Bible school and arrested, despite not surrendering, according to Interior Minister Benhur Abalos. Witnesses provided crucial information. Quiboloy, a pastor in the Philippines, was arrested by the regional police chief and 4 others. The arrest follows a public falling out between the Marcos and Duterte political families. The standoff at the Kingdom of Jesus Christ has occurred as the Marcos and Duterte families have been feuding. The Philippines is not considering extraditing Quiboloy for now, as the U.S. Dutch sought his arrest before Duterte handed power to him. Quiboloy founded the Kingdom of Jesus Christ in Davao in 1985 after hearing God's message. According to him, he delivered sermons from his Garden of Eden restored estate and broadcast them on his own network. Quiboloy also gained political influence by endorsing candidates during elections, a practice common in the Philippines where politics is based on patronage. India's markets regulator, the Securities and Exchange Board of India, is under threat due to multiple allegations against its chief, Madhabi Puri Bach. These allegations, primarily related to conflicts of interest, have surfaced from multiple sources. Despite the allegations, Bach has denied most and not publicly responded to some. This comes amid a strong performance in India's equity markets, with foreign investors and new investors boosting their investments. Ms. Bach, a prominent Indian businesswoman, has faced allegations of corruption and misconduct since August. Hindenburg Research accused her and her husband of holding investment in an offshore fund used by the Adani Group, causing delays in an investigation against Adani. Opposition Congress Party accuses Bach of receiving rental income from a company which was investigating and holding an office of profits at ICICI Bank. SEBI, India's financial regulator, has faced internal dissent, with staff demanding Ms. Bach's resignation after a toxic work culture complaint. Around 1,000 employees reportedly complained of intense pressure and public humiliation. SEBI has publicly rejected these claims, but protesters have called for an immediate retraction. Bach defended herself, denying any conflict of interest claims in the Hindenburg case. ICICI Bank has also denied paying her a salary of ESOPs and said she only received her retirement benefits after leaving the bank. Experts are concerned about SEBI, a regulatory body in India, and its top officials' transparency. The lack of transparency in SEBI's financial affairs raises concerns about the standards it expects from public companies. Senior-most officials at regulatory bodies have access to price-sensitive information which can impact stock prices. The botch episode is seen as a learning experience for SEBI and other Indian regulators to apply more robust disclosure process, according to proxy advisory firm InGovern Research. Investors in India are unperturbed by the recent regulatory scandal surrounding SEBI chairperson Ms. Botch. The controversy could lead to institutional money flowing in retail investors pulling out of the market. Some experts believe Botch's appointment will not be renewed as her current tenure ends in February 2025. The government has been silent on the matter, and the board of SEBI should step in and publicly address the allegations. Global investors will watch the government's handling of the matter, as it will affect investor sentiment going forward. India's Supreme Court ordered all doctors protesting over the rape and murder of a female medic last month to resume work by Tuesday, warning that they may face adverse action if they fail to adhere to the deadline. Hundreds of doctors nationwide have stayed off work as they demand justice for the woman whose body was found on August the 9th in a classroom at R.G. Kar Medical College and Hospital in Kolkata in the eastern state of West Bengal, where she was a trainee. A police volunteer was arrested for the crime, and federal police said last week that the former principal of the college had also been arrested for alleged graft. Doctors have also been demanding better amenities in government-run hospitals, which they say lack security and basic infrastructure, such as resting spaces for staff. The Supreme Court on Monday says that no adverse action would be taken against doctors who return to work by Tuesday evening. The court also directed the West Bengal government to take steps to assure doctors of their concerns being addressed, including by providing separate duty rooms and toilets for male and female personnel and installing CCTV cameras. Demonstrations over the attack spread beyond India's borders over the weekend as thousands of diaspora Indians protested in more than 130 cities across 25 countries, including Japan, Australia, Europe, and the US. The court, which took up the matter of its own accord following outrage over the incident, had earlier formed a hospital safety task force to recommend steps to ensure the safety of medical workers. Russia has claimed control of a town in eastern Ukraine, Novorodivik, as Moscow's force advance on Pokrovsk and aim to pierce Ukrainian defensive lines. Russia controls about a fifth of Ukraine since invading in February 2022 and is attempting to take the entire Donbas region, which is half the size of Ohio. Russia said on Sunday that its forces had taken full control of a town in eastern Ukraine. The Ukrainian military reported fighting in the Pokrovsk sector, including Novorodivka, with 29 Russian advances repelled and 7 skirmishes ongoing. However, an interview with a Ukrainian officer claimed that Ukrainian forces abandoned Novorodivka due to unfavorable defending positions. Russian forces also captured Nevelsk. President Putin said a Ukrainian incursion into Kursk had weakened Kyiv's defenses, benefiting Moscow. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said the Kursk operation was also to prevent Russian forces from crossing the border in the opposite direction. Russia currently controls about 80% of Donbas, given the speed of recent Russian advances in the east. Some Russian war bloggers have raised concern about the army overreaching it. Putin ordered tens of thousands of troops into Ukraine more than 2.5 years ago in what he calls a special military operation. Ukraine and its Western backers have vowed to defeat Russian forces and expel all Russian troops. Britain's labour market cooled noticeably last month as job placements fell sharply and pay growth slowed, according to a survey of recruiters on Monday that could bolster the case for interest rate cuts from the Bank of England. The monthly report on jobs from the Recruitment and Employment Confederation trade body and accountants showed permanent job placements dropped at the fastest pace in 5 months. Starting pay growth for permanent staff also fell to a 5-month low, one of the weakest readings since early 2021. John Holt, Employment Confederation's UK Chief Executive and Senior Partner, said business confidence continued to fluctuate despite an interest rate cut from the BOE last month. The news that while salaries rose last month, it was at the weakest rate since March could help make the case for more rate cuts when the Monetary Policy Committee meets to decide the future path of interest rates, Holt said. The vast majority of economists polled by Reuters think the BOE will wait until November to reduce interest rates again, although financial markets currently show a 1 in 4 chance of a rate cut on September 19. Official labor markets data on Tuesday are expected to show robust employment growth and a further moderation in pay growth. And that's the international news for today. Before we go, another look at the major stories. We told you that Gabon declared election winner with 95% of vote. Military-led government rejects UN call for peace. Voters call for less drama in Harris-Trump debate. We also told you that Kendrick Lamar to headline Super Bowl halftime show. California's line fire forces, thousands to evacuate. We also told you that allegations escalate against Indian markets. Thank you so much for watching. I am Victor Peter. You can follow us on our social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, at Atlantic TV Network, Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic TV Television Network, Instagram at Atlantic TV Network. Watch us live on our website, atlanticnetwork.tv. Peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Business news comes up next. Do stay with us.
From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. Catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe.